Happy Monday, Vital Tribe. This is Angela, of course, reaching out, giving you a moment when you come in. Oh, I just realized I still have my hair up. Well, I look kind of old-fashioned today, don't you think? Like kind of Victorian era. Like I have that, or maybe is it Edwardian that had this kind of like Gibson girl hair? Is that what's going on? I took a shower today, as you should once in a while, and left my hair up to dry. So, that feels better. So anyway, hello. This is Angela Ward. For those of you that don't know me, I am a registered nurse, transformational coach, an integration and embodiment specialist. I like to say geek sometimes, but specialist sounds good. And I am the CEO of Guardian at the Gateway, where we are helping people suffering from burnout, overwhelm, depression, and anxiety to really make meaning of their work, their lives, and try to find some joy in these days. If you're watching live, especially in Facebook, please give StreamYard permission to show you so I can see your comments. I can see who you are when you leave comments. If you're watching on YouTube, please just leave comments in the notes after the show, and I'd love to hear from you. If you're watching a replay, please put replay in the comments. If you're watching live, you can always leave me some likes and hearts and emojis and feedback. That's always fantastic. Today is an interesting day. I had a different theme planned originally for this week, but I realize it's a little too soon to move quickly into building bridges. I think we're going to talk about building bridges next week, but this week I'd like to really talk about restoration, rejuvenation, and relief. It's been a challenging time in the United States over the last week, and I recognize the experience that I'm having for myself is just this kind of energetic, this drop that has happened. I was not quite so overtly aware of the amount of stress I was carrying in my body over the last 4 years. And I recognize my privilege that I've been able to, my life is not as bad as some people's lives. By far, I recognize my privilege. And so I can really only imagine how other people may be feeling a sense of relief and kind of this dropping of that anxiety. And I also recognize that there may be some of you listening that feel an enhanced level of stress right now, but it may also have a bit of a shift in the flavor because now that we have an outcome, we kind of know where we stand. We talked last week in the group about grief and anticipatory grief and how that kind of runs that level of anxiety in the body. And now that we've crossed to a place where there's a little less overt anticipatory grief, there's this dropping, this landing in a way. So I really want to honor that experience for all of us. I know there are some people celebrating, and bless you for your celebration and your joy. I'm really happy for you. And for those of you that are grieving, I hold you in your recovery and healing process, that you may find your way back to meaning for you. So how do we honor this kind of time of rest? This time that we need to rejuvenate and renew ourselves. I was trying to think of a really good analogy. I am not a sporty kind of person. So I can't really use a great sports analogy, but I imagine something like, let's say you've been training your whole life for a particular marathon, let's say, and you ran this marathon. I can imagine that right after you've completed this marathon, that you need this kind of like decompression space, right? I have a client that also just achieved a physical goal that this person had been training up to for 2 years. And it required an immense amount of discipline right up to the event itself. And then afterwards, he had a plan. It wasn't like he did all this process and then just like stopped the next day. There was kind of an unloading process, which I imagine most athletes need. Actually, here's a good analogy. When I used to ride horses, my aunt raised thoroughbreds, and we used to help gallop them, exercise them. And you never, after you warmed a horse up, and then we really did the big portion of the exercise with the gallops, we would never just stop, get off, and put them away. There was a whole process of kind of cooling down and letting the energy kind of recalibrate and settle in. That was crucial to their physical health and well-being, probably mental health too. So I'm looking through this lens this week of what is needed to allow us to kind of like process what's happened and settle back in to a way of being that doesn't carry that energy that was really compressed over the last week. There's a couple ways. Much as when one is grieving, of course, I think there's a time that needs to be taken to allow that your body and mind are probably not quite back to normal operation, that you may have ruminating thoughts or have a hard time focusing or have emotions welling up, be distracted. I would expect that as you're kind of recalibrating. And I think it's okay to allow for some of that, absolutely. I think allowing ourselves to rest where is needed is great. And I mean, true rest, even if that's a brief meditative practice with a little breath work, perhaps, or some kind of like nice, juicy movement flow. Those are a couple other ways. And then I had a lovely experience this last weekend taking a dance class. I haven't danced a lot for a little while. And this class was a belly dance class. So we were working on shimmies. But the idea with this shimmy that we were doing was about clearing and kind of like shaking off the energy that had been happening during the week. And there was something really cathartic about just allowing the animal body, my body, to bounce and shake and quiver. We did a lot of shaking with the hands too. There was something about this energy that felt really like nourishing, like kind of like letting it burn off in a way. So there's that opposite of rest where I think engaging a little bit of movement intentionally with the thought of like kind of letting the body shake and clear would be a really lovely practice to bring in this week in some ways, if you can. Of course, when we're thinking about nourishing, rejuvenating and replenishing, as we find some relief, there we need to tune back into all those little pieces. And I know I've talked about it all week, all the time that you're in this group with me, but that is really tuning back into the amount of rest, nourishment, and movement that we need, as much healthy touch as you can find. Perhaps some of you were stress eating and drinking over the last week. So how might you restore yourself? Is it time for some chicken noodle soup? Is it time for more tea? Is it time for some blankets and a good book? Is it time to go for a really brisk walk out in the weather? How might you allow yourself to find a new level of revitalization, of restoration, of letting yourself drop that heaviness? And I don't care where you sat on the political spectrum. The last upcoming period of time has been very emotional and very intense with high energy and a lot of stress. And we certainly aren't out of the woods. We still have coronavirus to contend with. There's still a lot of political stuff, but the reality is things are shifting. So how might we meet that shift and give ourselves space and time? So if you need permission to continue to rest or to take it a little bit easy, I'm going to give you permission right now to take what you need to help you recover, to help you feel a sense of relief, to help you feel like you're able to start restoring your energy. If it helps to have permission from me, but I will certainly grant it to you if it makes it better for you. What are some other little pieces I'd like to share? One of the things that I have found particularly helpful during this time myself has been bringing in more music. Now, I understand not everybody is a music person, but I think a lot of us really can be. And it's been so nice to take time to just play music loud in my space and let myself be a bit immersed in it. And I was actually talking to my dad, who was sharing last night that he, during the last week, took a little dive into listening to some Mozart, particularly Lacrimosa and Mozart's Requiem, which is fun. So I'll probably be posting some more music this week. I might post that one actually, because that's you got to feel the grief. That's a good one. But I'd love, if you're watching this, to share a little something that is revitalizing you. And maybe it's music, maybe it's a beautiful recipe, maybe it's a view you're seeing. Something that's also been really restorative for me is to be able to cuddle my dog on the couch, even though she's not really supposed to be on the couch. But sometimes I let her up there and then she just gets so snuggled into me, and it's so just quiet, really quiet and sweet. So I think that might be it for today. I'm really grateful for everyone that's taken the time to watch and communicate with me how you're doing. I look forward to moving into some other topics over the next couple weeks. So if there's a burning desire of an area you'd like to dive into a little more deeply, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Maybe there's some really good things we could dive into. This week in our Full Spectrum Vitality cohort collective, we're going to be diving into environment. So I'm really excited to see where that's going to bring us during this next 4 weeks. If that kind of work sounds interesting to you, let me know. The next cohort is enrolling now for the December start. So we spend about 6 months together looking at different facets of our lives and really kind of bringing them back into harmony, balance with some joy, and taking a good look at what feels good, bring those things in that feel the best and most in service, and then discarding what doesn't work. Yeah. So blessings to you all. I'm going to go make a new fresh pot of tea and maybe wrap a blanket around myself. I got my nice purple one here. All right. Love you all. Have a really good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.